Hey there, hey, this is Michelle with Brilliant Quest, and today I've got a 4-part framework to help you get past stuck. Now, I'm giving y'all this framework because I am noticing for myself that I'm getting stuck a lot. And so I was like, it's time to bring out the wisdom and employ it. And so because I'm using it, I'm gonna share it with you too, because it's all about us going on the Brilliant Quest. So let's get into it. I'll be checking my notes, so bear with me. All right. So the 4 components, the 4 steps, the framework that I use to help me to get over obstacles, to help me to get forward progression and momentum is I first do a check-in with the neurotransmitters of the brain, those hormones. And this is not just for women. Everybody got these. I'm talking about dopamine. I'm talking about serotonin. I am talking about the endorphins. The stuff that heals the body and makes you feel well. I'm talking about that area of the hippocampus that's doing us dirty. I'm talking about all of that. All right. So once you do that and you handle the hormones, and I'm gonna give you a quick little trick to at least handling one of the big daddies of them, dopamine, is you want to purge the subconscious. And a lot of this is done during altered states, meaning meditation and sleep. Okay. The next part of that is you want to prep and reframe to handle what I call the new, because the new is out here getting people. You want to see this other video that I just did about how it messes with us and gets us in trouble. And then you want to plan for purpose. And planning for purpose is very powerful because purpose is the fuel to help you to get motion. And so one of the big areas that I have found that when you get stuck in the quagmire of the mind where things are fuzzy and you're like running and trying and doing, is that you don't have a lot of movement and momentum that progresses you forward. And so that's why after many years of feeling stymied and stuck and imprisoned in my own mind, I was like, I gotta get some relief. And after I did all of the stuff that they tell you to do, the outward stuff, I started realizing that it starts in the brain and the mind. And so that is why we're going with this approach. So think of this as your mental prep, your 4-part mental prep to help you to get over obstacles and things. So you know how we do it here. We're gonna go through each one of them and I'm gonna let you go. All right. So stick with me and stay until the end, because I am going to give you a recap of what is going to be for you to practically use so that you can get going. All right. All right. So there's a saying that says that the amount of time it takes you to start is indicative of the well-being of the mind. And if you are stuck, that means the mind has got to be worked with. And there are some areas, I'm not going to call them culprits, but there are some areas where usually you can find the haunts, if you will, and all the little stuff that's hiding from you. And those are in your subconscious and in your hormones. Now, a lot of people are not very familiar with hormonal work, but it's real. It's real. And so the first part of this framework is to recognize if you've got some issues with how your hormones are working. Now, if you're feeling constantly tired and like you don't have a lot of energy, usually, and let me give my little disclaimer, this is not practicing medicine. This is not prescribing any kind of medications or therapies. This is for your advocational use. This is my advice, and use it if you will. But this is for entertainment purposes only. Okay? So one of the things with handling hormones, if you're feeling tired, overwhelmed, just shutting down, it could be because you have these high cortisol levels due to persistent negative stress. And there's this area in the brain where there's the hippocampus, and then inside the hippocampus is this little thing that looks like a bean, and it's called the amygdala. And this is the area where it works to deal with or succumb to depressive states. And you have the neurotransmitters. The big ones are oxytocin. That's the love one. Yes. You have endorphins. Those are the ones that heal or soothe the body. You have serotonin, which is the I feel great. I feel wonderful. And you have dopamine that's like, yes, give me some more. And so when you're feeling tired and overwhelmed, this bad monster, I almost feel like I'm trying to do a puppet show, but this bad monster of too much cortisol is dousing the party. And so the only thing that the body wants to do is to bring all of the systems down to give the neurons, the hormones, time to regulate themselves and get back on their job. Yeah. And sometimes you feel overwhelmed, like your brain is just spinning and going, and you just, ugh. Same thing, except for in the reverse, where your hormones are overproducing because they have been meant to overproduce. This is where you get into areas of PTSD, where you're hypervigilant, where you have overactive brain activity because you are thinking or realistically needing it to survive in your environments, to the point where you can't even get good sleep because your mind is just racing and racing. We got fancy words for them, but it's not about telling you what type of shock you're in, sympathetic being up in the brain, parasympathetic in the stomach, and all of that. This is more so for you to be able to be functional without burning out, because being stuck is usually also tied to having burnt everything. You ain't even got no ends to burn. You've burnt both ends, the middle. You're working on ghost of ash. And so working with to understand how to get your hormones back in order is going to be really big. Now, me, because I can't tell you what to do, but I can just say that one of the big guns that you can start to work with would be dopamine. And you can't swing a sash and not hit on some type of information that talks about dopamine. A lot of it talks about dopamine detoxes, and I think they're good, but I also encourage you to have a regimen that once you do that detox, don't jump all the way back in. Modulate, and moderate coming back into all the impulses that you get that cause that reward hormone to make you feel like, yes, I can do this. I've won the world and all of that. And so working with the dopamine, one of the things, because I've done a whole video, like I said before, dealing with that. One of the things I would do is I would check for areas where you feel apathy, languishing, and boredom. That's going to give you a big bang for the buck. And then areas where you might be doing too much, meaning it could be getting into the addictive, because dopamine makes you hunt for new experiences and it makes you hunt for achievements. And so if you're feeling stuck, look at the areas that might be providing the dopamine without you doing what dopamine was meant for you to do. And that was for you to have achievements that contribute to your well-being. So are you consuming a lot of TV that gives you this feel good? Are you playing games on your phone or your PC? Are you shopping online or shopping, retail therapy? Are you just overeating sweets, salty? In the United States, and I read it. I don't like to just say stuff without. But okay, I know I read it, but it said that potato chips, if you're in the United States, we call them potato chips. I think in the UK, you call them crisp. But this study said it in the United States that potato chips were the highest contributor to obesity. I would have thought it was sugar. They said it was potato chips. And I love me some crunch. I do. And so because of becoming aware of that, I was like, okay, well, what I will do is I will switch to popcorn, because with the popcorn, you air pop it. You don't have it all the time, but you can air pop it and, bring it down a little bit. It's not totally good, but it's better than the greasy, chips that get you to licking your fingers after you get done with it. And that's an example of moderating. So I want you to take that inventory, because you might say, well, Michelle, mine is not dopamine. I'm tired all the time. It might be where you have to have it, where you take the proper rest and you work, hopefully with a professional, on how to find your sweet spot for replenishing what the body needs. Like I said, I'm not a doctor, but there are places that you can call for sleep studies. I don't know about insurance and all that, but you'll find out when you call them. They'll tell you how they get compensated, and you can start from there. Now, these are just, like I said, some examples for you to start taking the offense to work on getting out of your rut. All right. So handling those hormones, like I said, the big ones start with dopamine. What are some areas that are giving you the dopamine hits that mean good? And you can check for it in what you eat or crave, what gives you joy, but does not, it's only for entertainment. It's just, the hits of dopamine for entertainment, but it doesn't help you to progress by being productive or helping you in your well-being or any of that kind of stuff. So those are some areas. Okay. And then the medical side of it. Are you taking or having to take medications to keep you going or to nullify things? Like I'm not talking about, the bad drugs. I'm talking about, are you needing to take antacids all the time? Are you needing to take painkillers all the time because of nagging pains? All of those things work to mess with your hormonal, your brain neurotransmitters. And think about it. These neurotransmitters are, their purpose is to not just stay up in the brain, but to move throughout the body to help the body function better. So it's important. Get a handle on your hormones. Okay. The next one, part 2, is you want to purge the subconscious. And like I said, purging the subconscious is best done in an altered state, whether it be in a trance that you can have during meditation or prayer, and or when you are falling asleep or when you are waking up. And what I want you to understand about purging the subconscious is that, now this is from Neville Goddard. I love Neville Goddard. He was a spiritualist back in the 40s through the 60s. And he has this book, and it's an old book, and it's called The Feeling. Did I write it down here? I'll make sure I put it in the show notes and I'll put it up here. It does, I think, a really great job. Now, this book was written in 1944. The Feeling is the Thing, I think is what it's called. It was written in 1944 before they really started having this boom in the 60s. You know, psychedelics helped them. But talking about what the subconscious did and what its purpose was for. Now, he was very allegorical with it in that he equated our waking conscious mind to the husband and the subconscious to the wife. And that whatever the husband gave it, the conscious, the wife was dutiful to produce and give it back ninefold. All right. That's what they get. The 10% of your brain you're using, the other 90% you're not. You're using 100% of your brain. It's just 10% is attributed to your wakeful state. And the subconscious is the bigger one that's producing a lot. But the subconscious is a subordinate, and it is passive, meaning that whatever you give it, that's what it's going to give back to you. So it's not going to be a total monster out here giving you stuff that you didn't give it. But you do need to make sure that you understand, just like you wash and tend to other things in your life, you've got to purge and clean, update, upgrade what goes into your subconscious. So I've talked about the journaling and how powerful it is and why I do it before I go to bed. And that is because I am preparing my subconscious. So once I dribble out all the stuff that I was concerned with or I did during the day, because I don't want that in my subconscious, I then usually end the latter part of my journaling with the directives that I want to give to my subconscious. Because by that time I'm sleepy. I'm starting to get there. But not only with the journaling, right before when I'm laying in the bed and I'm drifting off, I am purposefully talking to my subconscious. Now, I got that from this book, and this book is short. It is a short little book, but it's very powerful. And it's written in a way where you can't just run through it. And you know what? There is a link on YouTube, and I think it's only like 39 minutes. That's what I'll do. I'll put the link in the description. So you just go watch it, and listen to it that way. Yeah, I think that'll work. And it talks about how the husband needs to talk to the wife and what the husband needs to do for the wife. And so that's what I do. I make sure that any worries or concerns that I have, if I still have them, I give my subconscious a directive to come up with a solution and to make it so that the solution is done. And I usually say something like, God and my subconscious, higher self, I bring everybody in. I bring spirit, angels, guides, ancestors, the Lord, everybody, because I think I need that much help. But that's another thing that I do when it comes to working with my subconscious. And so I prep the subconscious, fall asleep, and that's what I do with intention. So work with intention. And the reason why I'm talking about the subconscious is a lot of times we will do things like we will listen to affirmations. And I do that. That's another thing I do. I'm usually, when I get really, really sleepy and I've done my directive, a lot of times I'll turn on a sleep meditation of affirmations and things, but not until I have prepped and, prepared my subconscious. Because one thing about it, it is hard to stuff something in artificially on top of old stuff that the subconscious has been used to working with as its operating system. So if you have some fear, some ingrained thoughts, belief systems, limiting beliefs, you can't just say, I'm wonderful, everything works out, and think that's going to work. You got to start rooting out that deep stuff. And so that's what I'm talking about in this part. So the first part is handling the hormones. The second part is purging the subconscious with intention. The third part is that you want to prep and reframe how you handle the new. And when I talk about the new, I am talking about the dopamine drive to experience new things. It gets out of order in that the dopamine drive should be a reward system for when we accomplish stuff. And most things that we accomplish are new, or are things that are for our well-being but don't feel good to us. And so we have to reframe and reorder it so that dopamine is not duping us by driving us to always want new stuff, not even to consume it, not to use it, but just the acquiring of new stuff. We're just by purchasing something, so we get into this hedonistic treadmill of lusting after events, things, people, those types of things. Okay. So then the next one is you want to plan the purpose. Now, I want to say this, that in planning your purpose, a purpose, or I should say, dopamine without a purpose is not good and it's not better. And when you're getting in a rut, you're going to need your hormones to help you, because you can lose your way. You can get unmotivated when you don't see what you're expecting. And that's why you want to give yourself a fighting chance as best you can to get your hormones working for you and with you instead of against you, or just out there doing what they want. And so by using this ability to really work your purpose, and when I say purpose, I am talking about the drive, the purpose for doing this. I'm not asking you to go and figure out your purpose for your life. I just want you to get clear on what's the purpose for why I'm doing this. Why does this matter? Get down to the least common denominator of what you're really doing. If you say, I am going to go walk 5 miles, why? Why 5 miles? What is the purpose? What are you really doing? What is the root solution you're trying to get? If you say something like, I want to look good for my family reunion, maybe you can do it many different ways and not just put all of it on walking 5 miles every day. When you start to break it down and understand it, your purpose gets clearer and you get options and you get a plan. That's why we want a plan for the purpose. And that enables you to start moving forward so that you can get forward traction. It's not working when you said you was going to walk. It's been 3 days and you've made excuses and you've not done it yet. So that means, you guessed it, that you haven't planned for the purpose. You haven't gotten that clarity so that you can take the action and that you can get the dopamine reward. And one of the things I said in the other video where I talked about dopamine is sometimes instead of trying to do these big things where you're going to get this dopamine reward for having done them, break them up into little increments so that you can pepper the dopamine rewards throughout the time. And so focus on quick wins, small rewards, and that will help you. So in a recap, here we go, y'all. So the 4 parts for getting past stuck is you want to handle those hormones. You don't need to know everything, but look for the big boy. Look for where dopamine is doing you dirty. And it's usually going to be in the areas of things that are time wasters, things that you become addicted to and don't realize it. The new. And start to work with putting it back in order so that dopamine is a reward for you having achieved something. You can do that with quick wins, small incremental wins, and those types of things. Instead of trying to climb the whole mountain, be okay with making it a half mile to the base camp, those types of things. Number 2, you are going to purge the subconscious, get into those altered states, whether you're in meditation or especially going to bed and waking up. That is some powerful bang for your buck. You want to start breaking up that impacted ground of all of those limiting beliefs and stuff that is just down in the subconscious, making your life suck, so that you can put new stuff in. An affirmation or affirmation works way better when it's got fertile soil to work with instead of hardened, dry, cracked earth. All right. Then number 3. Number 3 is you want to prep and reinforce your ability to work with the new, the stuff that dopamine has you lusting for and running your life into the ground. All right. And then the 4th one is you want to plan for purpose. And by planning for purpose, you want to get clear by really kind of like getting down to the root of why am I doing this? What do I want to do? If you're stuck, there's a reason. It a lot of times can live in the subconscious. It can live in confusion, because a confused mind does not work. It does not do anything, and it gets stuck. By following these 4 steps, they should help you so that you can start getting forward movement and then get on to momentum. All right, so guess what? Yeah, I want you to check the links in the description. I'm going to put the link for that book from Neville Goddard. That is an amazing book that talks about the subconscious, and I think it's only 39 minutes. And then if you want to support the channel, thank you all of those of you who have started supporting the channel. I love you. Thank you so much. Soon I'm going to figure out how to put your names up on these videos. But you can find the links there. If you want to do one-on-one with me, you can also do that. And I'm going to ask you to go on and check out the next video. It's essential to you having your brilliant quest. So I'm going to see you sooner than later. This is Michelle, your big sis with Brilliant Quest. Bye.